John, I can't thank you enough for letting me come out here and spend some time with you, and I greatly appreciate it. But the beauty out here in California, I mean, how do you get any work done?
Other than the traffic.
Yes, other than the traffic. That's right. But how do you get work done?
It's crazy. Well, you know what? I just had a not a typical work day, but a work day today that consisted of having to drive up the PCH to Malibu for our spring catalog photo shoot, and I decided to jump in the ocean, take a quick splash before the shoot started, and I thought, man, I'm officially working. This is pretty good.
That is very good.
You know?
So did you have clothes to, I mean, you just jumped in?
No, but I mean, I brought a suit. I knew I was going to be up on, it's a beach house we're shooting at. I brought a suit and a towel and, you know.
So is that just the lifestyle? You just know to prepare that way?
Well, not always, but I knew I was going to a beach house in Malibu in the middle of the day, and it's sunny out and the water's been pretty good, so hadn't been in the ocean for a while, so I brought my suit and I jumped in and it was spectacular.
Refreshing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the lifestyle.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I know you're from the Midwest.
Right.
Do you miss the Midwest?
Yeah, sure. I miss a lot about the Midwest, but I get back there a lot, so I get enough of it. And mostly I miss the people, you know, my best grade school and high school buddies. But I've got family back there. I still see them a lot. So I get my fix. You know, I go back probably 3 times a year. So it's not like, you know, I get my
enough
my
to get
fix.
the taste.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all good.
So when you think about, you know, the family and friends that you have in the Midwest, I want you to go back even a little bit further now, just when growing up in the O'Donnell house. What did it look like in terms of how sports became integrated into your household and just how you gravitated towards sports?
7 kids, all in a,
That's crazy in itself right there, obviously.
And mom and dad and all the 7 kids were in a 10-year block, so it was boom, boom, boom. We all played sports. My dad liked sports, but, you know, he was, by the time we got to be kids that were playing sports, he was golf and tennis for the most part, but he did some boxing back in college and played some baseball as a kid and a little bit of ice hockey, but sports has always been huge for me. I have 2 brothers. I was always the sports guy. My brother Bill was a different sports guy in that he'd spend more time, you know, bird hunting or fishing or with the land.
Type.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was more football, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, boom, boom. And then my brother Chris was right in between us, where he was kind of a little bit of both. But I was, I've been sports like crazed my whole life.
And what was your first passion then?
You know, I got introduced to golf at a young age, which has gone on to be my passion by far, because you can play as you get older. But I really got into when I started playing basketball and football. I know it's only 4th grade, but you know what? Back in Chicago, we played more basketball in the winter. It was crazy. We'd play outdoor in the sleet. Just to play was amazing. Played in grade school, played football up through grade school, and then, as you talked about, going to walk on at Clemson, when I got to high school, I was about, 5'4", 112 pounds, and that was the end of my football career. And so I, picked up the golf club more religiously and played all through high school and competed and just loved it and always have.
And what did you love about golf then so much? Because
maybe
it's an individual sport.
It was an individual sport. Maybe it was my opportunity to prove myself to me. I felt like it was hard because I felt like team sports had passed me by, and I was pretty bummed out because I was very involved in team sports. And I think I lost a lot of self-confidence there my freshman year of high school. All the other guys started to grow and mature, and I kind of stayed in this puppy dog phase, and I thought, oh man. But so I think golf gave me an avenue to continue to compete in sports, but I didn't have to, be as big and strong as everyone else. And I started to play relatively well. And
did you pick it up pretty fast?
I picked it up fairly quick.
Did it come natural to you, I should say?
I think so. And, I started at a young age, which you always hear people say, if you can start golf at a young age, it can really help, because I have brothers and sisters. My younger brother plays a lot. He's a good player. My older brother and my sisters don't really play, but my dad and mom had him on the lesson tee when they were kids, and they can still to this day stand up, put a tee in the ground, and grip it and make a really athletic pass at the ball. So you can tell that early training definitely helped. It's not, and they're not split gripping it, and
Exactly.
you know what I mean. Actually,
it's a little bit like riding a bike. At least they could understand
a little bit. So
the
it's
memory aspect of it.
Yeah, kept me in a competitive environment.
And when you talk about competitive, how was the O'Donnell family?
Were
you guys competitive?
Yeah, it was. We were really competitive. But it was interesting because we have 4 girls and 3 boys, so it's not like we were competing so much at sports. We were probably competing more for, the car keys when we got into our teenagers, because we had one station wagon for 7 kids. We competed for control of the television in the living room. We competed for, the last cookie in the cupboard or whatever it might
And so
be.
who would end up winning the most?
The girls kind of dominated our family. I'm not gonna kid myself.
Why is that?
Well, they were the oldest. The 3 oldest were girls, and we kind of have a pretty. The females kind of ruled the roost.
It
started with mom. Yeah, mom. She set the tone, and we kind of fell in line. So.
And was she a strict person?
Yeah, she was pretty. She still is. She's set in her ways, and my dad was an Irishman, just kind of fun-loving and not a lot of combat or conflict, and just keep the peace. So they made him a great pair because Dad was working all the time. Mom, she ran the household, and you better
follow your orders.
You better fall in line. So there was competition, but it was a different competition. It's not like it was 5 brothers competing out on the basketball court or something.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so from there in high school, and you start developing this true passion for golf, and you start excelling. So what's the pathway from there? Did you have these aspirations of playing?
Yeah, but I was good, but I was never that good. So it's not like, I want to go be a pro golfer. I mean, sure you dream, but I always felt like I didn't have that much confidence. I was good. I competed and I played in high school and won some events and things, but. And then I went to college, and I went to UCLA, and I tried to walk on my freshman year, and I didn't make it, and I tried to walk on my sophomore year, and I didn't make it. My junior year, I had joined the Sigma Nu House, so I figured golf could kind of take a breather for a year. And then senior year, I went back, and I said, I'm going to give it another shot, and I actually made it, which was really cool. But I was, for those long time, I called myself the ML car of the team. I did a lot of, waving the flag. I knew I wasn't nearly as good as the guys, but I made it. I brought a UCLA golf bag home to Chicago that summer, and I thought I was badass.
How much pride did you have carrying that bag?
It was cool. Granted, I was probably playing number 13 on a 14-man squad, but it
didn't matter.
It was all legit in 5 rounds, and I made it, and it was great. But I played with those guys, and I wasn't even near their caliber. I've actually started to play better post-college and later on in my adult life. So I'm running into some of them now that I'm competing with in amateur events, and it's kind of fun.
Oh, so now you're playing amateur events today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's fun because I just was with, it was last year, I played in a U.S. Mid-Am qualifier, and I was in a playoff, and it was against a guy who I played with at UCLA who was in the top 5 on the national championship team. And, so I was playing with him, and it kind of felt good because before I couldn't even, get near him.
And now you were competing again.
And granted, he got me in the playoff, but, I was right there with him. And I was like, you used to be about 30 by me in college. Things have changed. But he's still a great player. So
what has helped you then in terms of your golf game getting better over the years? Just more time on the course? Or?
Yeah, more time on the course, learning the game. Like anything else, if you're really passionate about something, you find a way to either figure it out or get better, I think. Not always. Golf maybe doesn't fall in that bucket, because I know plenty of guys that are wildly passionate.
Yeah, golf seems like a game that you just can't figure out.
I've always been a decent athlete, and I just I've worked hard at it and studied it and read about it and tried to emulate the good players, and was never afraid to compete. Competing always makes you better. And once you start getting a little confidence in the game, I think, I'm still, no expert, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Now at UCLA though, when you don't make the team, you talked about confidence earlier, and you felt that your self-confidence might have waned a little bit.
Yeah, at UCLA it didn't affect my self-confidence in the golf game, because I never really expected. I knew the program was much bigger than I was, and you know, if I was going to play college golf, it would be back in Chicago at, you know, DePaul or something. It wasn't going to be at UCLA, so I knew I was shooting for the stars. So if I didn't make it, it wasn't like, how can I not make the UCLA golf team? I mean, I understood it very easily. But
you had the perseverance to keep going back.
I did. I tried 3 times, and then I actually tried to go back for a 5th year and make it, and I ended up missing it. And by a shot, just ran into a guy last week, and he goes, you know, I was a guy that clipped you by a shot back in '87. I was like, what? How the hell do you remember? Isn't that funny?
That is.
I was like, thanks for the memory.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
But
right?
it was a great lesson.
Yeah. And what about hole-in-one? How many have you had?
5. I just had a fun one though, because I went to Ireland for the first time in my life.
Okay, you got to give me the backstory on this.
At my age and being with a name like O'Donnell and being a avid golfer, that I had never been to Ireland. People were like, you got to be kidding me. That's crazy. You've never been to Ireland. Well, we set up a trip with me, one of my brothers, 3 of my brother-in-laws, and 6, 7 of my nephews. And we did 5 days in Ireland. And in the second round, playing with one of my brother-in-laws and 2 of my nephews, it was at Royal Portrush, where the British Open is next year.
That's right.
And on the 3rd hole, I think it was, I knocked an 8-iron in, and I was like, that was pretty neat.
Neat.
I mean, hole-in-ones are cool, but I've
never had one, so
Well, some people are hole-in-one junkies. Like, it's fun, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. But the special part was not just having the hole-in-one, but in that environment in Ireland, having never been, with 2 of my nephews that had never seen or witnessed a hole-in-one. One of my brother-in-laws, who's been a brother-in-law for with my sister for 35 years. So I mean, it was a really special moment.
Oh, you had family there.
Family, you know.
Right.
So toasting the hole-in-one with a pint of Guinness after the round. It's like, this is a pretty cool hole-in-one.
Yeah. Now, did you have to buy a round for everybody?
Funny you should say that, because in the bus ride before we even started our first round, I said, listen, how about we do $500 a man for anybody who gets a hole-in-one? And it was really just kind of off the cuff, and everyone's like, yeah, man, I'm in. I'm like, great. So, and then everyone kind of forgot about it, and sure enough, I knock it in, and I'm like, what about that 5? And people are like, whoa, yeah, I don't know, did we ever agree on that? I'm like, that was horse shit, you know?
Exactly.
So they still owe me. But
are you going to collect? That's the question.
Never.
Yeah, of course.
Never.
Oh.
But
what
it was
an
great.
experience.
It was an amazing experience. It was.
Now, how was the rest of the trip?
The rest of the trip was great. It was, it was with those people close to my life. It was great golf courses, historic golf courses. It was fun little Irish restaurants and Guinness and stories and jokes and jet lag and wind. Got to see a lot of the courses I've been hearing about, my whole life.
Yeah. And what are some of the other favorite courses you've played?
Well, there's so many. I mean, my favorite course is a little par 66. It is closed now, shut down. It used to back up to our summer home in Michigan. It was called West Shore Golf Club in Douglas, Michigan, and it was where I really grew up learning how to play. Late in the day, after the beach, I'd go out the backyard to the par 66 and knock it around, but bank foreclosed on it and it got away. But, I've played a ton of great golf courses, and I don't have a favorite. I mean, you've got inland courses that are amazing. You've got coastal courses that are amazing. There's some courses just from the memories that they bring back, put it in the favorite category. But the courses over in Ireland were amazing. Royal Portrush was amazing. I've had the chance to play, Cypress Point, which is amazing. Course in Chicago called Shore Acres, which is amazing. I've never played a few that are still on the hot list, but
do you have a bucket list?
I'd love to still see Oakmont out in Pittsburgh. What else? Crystal Downs, is that the one up in Michigan? I think that would be a great one to see. There's some stuff in Australia that could be kind of cool. But I've been so lucky and played so much that if I didn't see a golf course, it's not going to, you know.
And how often are you playing each week?
Well, it's this time of year starts slowing down, but during the season, I mean, it's 12 months a year here, but
I know there is no season. It doesn't seem right.
But,
you can just keep
the
playing.
Tournaments and the events kind of run in the, you know, April through September-ish type thing, and that's when I get kind of amped up. But I'll play once a week now, but I'll get over to the driving range and hit some balls once in a while. It's kind of a nice little therapy for me.
I was going to say, is that a time for you to
It is.
be able
and I
to
know
get
people
out
say
and
that,
get
but
away?
it really is. It's I'm fortunate. I have a place to go play and hit balls, and it definitely is a Zen moment for me. And yeah.
How did you get though from Chicago to
Los
UCLA?
Angeles.
How did you
That's
decide?
Random. That was
to come
random.
out
Well,
here?
we back in Chicago in the early '70s, my dad was working for CBS Radio, and he was transferred out here to run the CBS television affiliate, or not affiliate, the owned and operated CBS television station out here. And then after 2 years, they said, "We want you back in Chicago at your radio job." He launched the all-news radio station in Chicago back in the mid-late '60s. And so we came out here. My parents called it a 2-year vacation. There were 7 kids, all under the age of 10. Enrolled
It's not
5
much of a
us,
vacation.
and enrolled 5 of us at St. Paul the Apostle. I was in first, Bill was in second, Livia was in fourth, Sally was in fifth, Julia was in sixth. And everyone at this school was like, "Who are these freaks?
Who are these O'Donnell kids,
Who are
right?
these freaks?" So we lived outside our backyard, there was kind of a view of UCLA. And once in a while I'd get over there and, as a first or second grader, noodle around or go to the UCLA Mardi Gras, was the carnival. And I always kind of had an affinity for their team uniforms, and just the school I thought just was cool. And it came time to apply for colleges, and I applied to 5 random schools around the country and somehow got into UCLA. I'm convinced I'm the last, as I say, the last B- student to get accepted to UCLA. And I got in and rejected from other places and waitlist. I said, "I guess I'm going to UCLA."
Going to UCLA.
And came out here and didn't know a soul. Knew one buddy from when I was here as an 8-year-old and hadn't seen him in 10 years. And he picked me up 10 years later at the airport. And there you go.
And did you enjoy that, not knowing anybody?
Yeah,
the opportunity of kind of starting over, so to speak?
Yeah, a little bit. It was exciting, but you asked me before, do you miss Chicago? I said, I definitely missed it then. I was a young kid. I was, 18.
Yeah, that's a long way from home.
I was 18, and I was a young 18, and I'm out there going, "Oh, what is this?" But it turned out to be a great experience of meeting people from a different part of the country. It was cool.
Yeah. Now, Johnnie-O just didn't happen.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Right? Yeah. So, as a lot of people think that, oh, wow, look at the success that John O'Donnell's have with Johnnie-O.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about, you graduate from UCLA.
Yeah.
What's your pathway?
I didn't know what I
that?
wanted to do. I went from UCLA straight to Madison, Wisconsin. My dad had bought a radio station in Madison, and I spent 5 years selling radio advertising time in Madison, Wisconsin. And that was an amazing experience overall.
Well, now I've heard Madison's a great place to go.
Madison's an amazing town. I recommend it to anyone. I love it. I miss Madison. And I sold radio, and I was selling radio at a startup, smaller FM radio station. And, I was the owner's son, and it was like, who is this snot-nosed kid trying to sell me advertising? So I had to, break down a lot of barriers, but it proved to be a successful and great 5 years. And then that took me back to Chicago to work for the Chicago Bulls and Chicago White Sox radio network, WMAQ.
I grew up a Chicago Bulls fan because of Michael Jordan.
Well, I was there in Michael's years selling radio time and Bulls sponsorship. So I was just telling this story to someone a couple days ago. This guy's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go see LeBron. It's my bucket list to see Kobe and LeBron." I was like, it's incredible to think, it was my job to take customers to Bulls games, and I probably saw Michael play 50 times or more. And I remember thinking to myself on some random cold Tuesday night in February, like, shit, I gotta go to another Bulls game.
You didn't want to go, did you?
No. And so I sold the radio, and then Fox Sports, I went to work for them in the television, selling the regional sports networks for 2 years, and then That was in Chicago. And then what brought me back out to LA in late 97 was the Golf Channel called me and said, we've got this startup. And
so this is when the Golf Channel was just starting?
Just had been getting underway, yeah. It had been maybe a year old, and they said, we need a ad sales rep in LA. Or we need an ad sales rep. I said, this is great. I'd love to do it. Golf and Golf
seems like
Channel.
a perfect
Tiger
fit, right?
was just coming on the scene. I was like, this is really cool. They said, but we need you in LA. So I came back to LA and worked at the Golf Channel for probably 2.5 years. And it was great. But again, it was selling advertising. You know, people think, oh God, the Golf Channel, yeah, like I'm teeing it up every day or something. And it's like, no, I'm selling cable television to advertising buyers, and I have 0 ratings. So it's not what it's all cracked up to be. But it was a great learning experience, and the network's done amazing things. So it was a fun time to be there. And then I got hired at a financial printing company, which was kind of random, but I had a buddy that managed...
Yeah, why did you go down that pathway?
Well, I had a buddy who managed one of the offices, and, you know, I was a single guy, and it paid pretty good, and you know, it gave you the expense account and some freedoms, but it wasn't my deal. But I kind of walked in my sleep for about 6 or 7 years and tried to do what I could, and I did okay.
Were you just on autopilot?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't break any records there, but I did my part and earned my keep. And it was there that I bumped into the idea for Johnnie-O. And so...
Okay, now when you say bumped into the idea,
well,
what does that mean?
Well, a pal of mine, it's a funny story, a pal of mine has a beach house down in Florida, and he uses the house for photo shoots, and he was making t-shirts and hats to promote his beach house. And I thought, gosh, a surf logo on more kind of classic preppy clothes, you know, a Polo Ralph Lauren meets, you know, Quicksilver. That could be kind of a cool deal. I said, you know, there's a lot of East Coast preppy brands, and they're all fish and horses and dogs and birds and everything. And I thought, what if we came up with a really cool, iconic Southern California logo, that being surf, but instead of, you know, putting it on, you know, Billabong clothes, or which has already been spoken for, why don't I kind of marry it with, you know, more of the classic traditional stuff? And
yes.
So, you know, we've got polos and button downs, and now it's just become a whole different animal. It's you know, it's over 60 full-time employees, and over, I think we're up over about 1,200 shops around the country, and it's become like this real thing.
Very real.
Which is crazy.
I wear it all the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, but going back to this, again, this whole bumping into this idea, and just the creation, because again, it walk me through just more of
well, it
just
was
the vision that you had. Was there one particular moment you said, all right, this is it.
Yeah,
yes, I want to start this.
It was with my buddy, Sully, and I was like, Sully, damn it, let's do this. And he said, no, geez, Johnnie-O, you give it a shot, man. And
so was your nickname Johnnie-O?
Yeah, you know. Okay. But then I wasn't going to name it Johnnie-O. I came up with a list of about 4 or 5 names. I remember literally calling my brother or emailing him or something and saying, okay, these are the 5 names I got, okay? I gave him like these random names. And
do you remember any of them?
No. One was like, I don't know what it was, like, you know, Jughead or Half Dog or whatever. And he's like, no, dude. He's like, you got to call it Johnnie-O. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm into naming something after me, you know. He goes, no, the reason you need to, and it was sound advice, he said, because then when you go out and talk to people about it, or if you go raise money, they'll know that it is, in fact, you that's doing this, and you're not going out to try to raise money or something for Joe Blow.
That's right.
And so I was like, you know what, that made sense. And so called it Johnnie-O and touched up and secured the logo and started screwing around with some polo shirts, and there was that combination of this logo and some shirts and dropping them into some golf shops that people like, this is different, I like this.
Yeah.
You know, and then, so I was able to kind of moonlight at that last job, and mornings and nights start to work on Johnnie-O a little in my second bedroom. And I started to sense that, like, there's something, as I say, I knew the fish, I know when the fish were biting and when they're just being nice, and I'm like, the fish are biting here. I mean, it was like crazy that, you know, I'd give a buddy a shirt and he'd go back to New York and he'd say, well, 20 buddies of mine want one of these things.
They said something about it.
Yeah, so it was really like, wow, there's some magic in this thing. There's something going on here. And so after about 2.5 years, I went all in and, you know, raised some friends and family money and was just very conservative and just I used that money very cautiously and wisely and didn't try to
go too fast.
And I think as a result, it's A, we didn't run out of money, so I didn't go out of business. And B, I think it's given us some really, you know, deep roots to what we're doing. You know, it's not this, I don't think it's had this, it's growing fast for sure, but it hasn't been like this thing that like the whole world all of a sudden knows about, and it's been this meteoric growth that can just, you know, crash as fast as it's gone up. I think we've had a nice, like this, and I think
you're building a solid foundation.
Yeah, and I think it's got some deep roots, and as they say, long legs to it, and I think it'll go on.
Now, were you a surfer?
For a long time.
Or are you a surfer?
No, I did some, funny enough, a little bit of windsurfing back in the day on Lake Michigan. Certainly have done some stand-up paddle, but I'd call that stand-up canoeing. And I've surfed maybe a half a dozen times. So I can't, no way, I call myself a surfer, no way.
Well, then
it's my dirty little secret.
How did the logo, how did it come about?
Well, because the logo you have to come up with, you know, what would be an iconic Southern California logo. You know, what am I going to do, the Hollywood sign or you know, a movie star or, you know, the Walk of Fame or, you know, a camera because it's the home of movies or celebrities, but this whole beach culture and the Beach Boys, and there's something to that, you know. And
now, did you have this vision and then you wrote it down, the logo itself?
No, my buddy that I was referring to earlier, Sully had a logo that was a surf-inspired logo. I said, Sully, it's just perfect. What we'll do is we'll marry this logo with. He said, Jesus, you're nuts, but go for it. I said, all right, well, are you sure? And I begged him, and he said, you know what, give it a shot. And so I came up with what I thought would be a real iconic surf logo, and that with the guy, the board next to him, and looking out. And I just started poking around, and I think it was the marriage of the logo coupled, again, not with typical surf gear, but marrying it more with like, wow, this is just a basic polo shirt. So the conservative classic guy felt comfortable in the garment, but this mark gave him a little something.
I was about to ask you, how much impact do you think the logo had on
huge
versus just the shirt itself?
Oh God, the logo was,
I think that's what set it in motion.
For sure. I take no credit for coming up with this like incredible polo shirt. I mean, I was buying blanks from like, you know, wholesale businesses and stitching on the logo, and had some Johnnie-O labels made up and had them stitch the label in there, and had this, you know, 100% cotton. It was it was a shitty shirt. I mean, it really was. And people today still laugh about it because I'd give it to people, and
we'll just call that your prototype.
It was, there you go. So we've come a long way.
Yes, you have.
We have, but it was the mark, and I think the mark and how it fit in with all these other brands and how it was differentiated and was able to kind of stick out like, you know, horse, fish, dog, bird. It's that little surf guy over there.
It's a person.
You know what I mean? Person.
A little different.
Person, exactly.
That's right.
So it's, it was definitely the
How
mark.
many people told you, you're crazy as hell?
Not really a lot, because I never took this massive, I didn't have like a wife and kids. I didn't take a massive financial risk. So it's not like I was mortgaging my home and the kids' education was on the line and I was taking every nickel I had. I know when I raised that money from friends and family, they were peeling off checks going, have fun. I don't plan on seeing any of this back.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? Go have fun. Tap me on the head. So I think everyone was just like, this is a total long shot, but they, I think, believed in me and thought and could sense some of this magic in this initial polo shirt.
Now, how old were you
at
the time?
Do I really have to tell you that?
Yeah, you do.
I was 40 at the time.
Okay. So do you think you were this midlife crisis type thing, trying to figure out,
I don't think so.
I want to do something different?
No, my midlife crisis is probably hitting me more now than then. I don't think it was I want to do something different. My dad always told me, hey, if you have the chance to do something for yourself, go for it. But this wasn't like, this was, I'm going to give this but I kept my real job while I dipped my toe in the water here. And I thought, I really think there's something there. I just felt like there was some magic. And so I gave it a whirl, but I wasn't, betting the farm or risking the farm. I was able to do it in a fairly low risk way, both from time. Again, I didn't have a wife and kids, so there was not a huge risk involved. So I'm not going to say, oh yeah, man, I was sleeping.
All the chips are in.
I was sleeping in the in the gutter and eating ramen and I have a big family and it was fine.
But you had to have some point where you finally made the decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going all in.
For sure.
Johnnie-O.
Yeah.
What was that?
That moment was a little interesting because I didn't have, for the first time in my working career, a paycheck coming in from a corporation. And so I paid myself out of money I raised, from that friends and family raised, but I paid myself tiny because I was like, I don't need a lot of money right now. I don't want to run out of money, and I'm going to put it towards the stuff we really need. So I wasn't a pig, and I wasn't trying to take down the apparel industry like overnight. I just was like, just keep plodding. And then I was fortunate to hire a gal who's still with me today after 9 or 10 years, who's our COO, who really, probably we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, because she was able to take care of all that shit work that I was just like, I don't want to look at like insurance forms and tax forms, and she was able to do that, so I was able to go out and
then
tell
were
the
you
story.
just going across the country telling the story?
Yeah, it was. That's why you say, like, people think it just showed up overnight. Not at all. I must have done a couple hundred trunk shows at people's homes and in grade school gymnasiums, at the the holiday boutiques, and that was taking one for the team when your buddies' wives are buying a T-shirt or a polo from you, and they're big in my buddy investment banker buddies are, Johnnie-O selling you some T-shirts, honey, and it's like, yeah, I get it, so I took my lumps,
yes,
but
you did.
I never lost sight of what I thought.
Did that give you drive to keep going?
Yeah.
Did that motivate you?
Definitely. It definitely did. I thought, I'll show you.
Yeah.
My little T-shirt company. I'll show you. And so, yeah, it did. I was like, I want to make, because I had never, and I'm still trying to make something happen, but, I was never much of a career guy. I did fine at work, but I never had massive ambition to be the richest guy on the street, or the best investment banker, or the best wealth manager, or the biggest attorney. I don't know. I was pretty content just being Johnnie-O and making a good living, and But now that I have a little boy, there's some new things to.
It's a little different.
It's a little different, so,
right?
Yeah.
What challenges do you see now versus the challenges that you had when you first started? As it gets bigger,
yeah,
now you're a leader of a company.
You say that. Yeah, the good news is I'm the leader of the company, but I also have other leaders that are amazing. You met Dave coming in. Dave's been with us 4 years. He's our CEO, and he's, the real deal. And, Katie, who I mentioned earlier, she's our COO. We've got one of the best product guys in the country, Chris Knott, who founded Peter Millar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's now our head of product. So, I mean, I'm sitting here going...
So how did you convince these people to come over to Johnnie-O?
That's a good question. Katie, I got early. She was looking for an opportunity to get into a startup apparel company on the ground floor. And Dave took a leap with us because he had been the CEO of some big companies. And he took a leap of faith. And, we put some skin in the game for him. And, so there's some carrots out there for him. But he took a leap of faith for sure. And I think if you asked him, he'd probably say it was a good move. I think he's enjoyed it, and there's still a big runway out there that we all see. So, and we have a great work environment. Chris, we were able to get, he sold Peter Millar, and he stayed on with them for about 4 years, and then he wanted to get back into the workflow and do what he does best. And I think he'd tell you how to admired our brand and what we were doing. And so this was a perfect fit for him because he loved what we were doing. The infrastructure was already set. We just needed him to come in and make great product. just one small thing missing. We need great product, but we did have a good product guy before Chris. But now we've got like a really serious expert.
Now, are you concerned though that as you're expanding that that you don't get too much?
Good questions.
If that makes sense.
Good questions. Because I talk about that all the time. It's people love brands that are kind of in that stealth, undercover, boutique, discovery type, And so how do you maintain that but start to kind of ring the cash register? There's always this race, and I think it comes from the whole banker mentality and Wall Street mentality. Get bigger. And it's like,
right now.
It's like, hang on a second. We're growing 45% a year. What else do you want? and now we're starting to get into some department stores, and you want to, again, ring the cash register and grow the brand, build the brand, but you also want to try to maintain that certain level of cachet where it's still, a boutique type brand.
Yes.
Instead of a mass kind of, you sold out. It's like, well, what are we supposed to do? Just stop selling product? I mean, if people keep buying it, but we are, we pay attention to where we sell our product. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you definitely do.
We do.
It's not just in the masses.
Yeah.
It's select stores.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah, and we don't. It's priced higher. It's certainly not a like Old Navy pricing, but it's not like we're trying to get $150 for a T-shirt like some of these cool guy brands do. So it's.
But now, what about also balancing it, or people coming to you and saying, all right, you need to be in footwear. You need to be doing other things
for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah. There's a lot of product categories that we can still jump into. Footwear's one of them. We're quote unquote dipping our toe in next spring with a couple of shoes and flip-flops. The women's business is something that we get a lot of requests for. When are you going to do Johnnie-O Women's? And you know what? We will do that eventually, but we want to make sure that we get better and stay on course with the men and the boys, and the women will come.
Now, why do you think also Johnnie-O just has this natural integration into sports? And how golfers love it.
First of all, I started selling it in golf shops, and that's because I knew those are the only guys I knew, golf pros that ran shops. Those are the only people I knew that had retail stores. I didn't know anything about retail. So it was like Joe Blow at Joe Blow Country Club. Will you take 48 of my polos? Sure, John, bring them in. So he sells them. So we started at what some people in the company today call the most difficult channel of all, these upscale green grass, country club pro shops. But there were a lot of friends of mine that got us in there. And then as far as the sports go, I've just through contacts and friends and relationships I've made with just some really great professional athletes, and there's been no paid sponsorships of any sort, but it's amazing to see the people that are wearing it just because they like it. Over the years, it's been unbelievable. It's crazy. And
It's got to make you, at some days, do you wake up and look in the mirror almost and say, "Man, is this for real?"
Yeah, but at the same time, I also don't lose sight that it's not like, I'm Phil Knight and I've got, Carl Lewis wearing my gear.
Yeah, but you started this out of nothing.
No, but and you're nice to say that. It is cool. Yeah, and at times it is. I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. It's got traction. I'm most excited that I think it'll go on and on and on long past me. I really believe that.
Yeah, so you're building a legacy.
I believe that. And my little boy Jack one day will, maybe say to his son, my grand, that was Grandpa. I really believe it's going to go on. I think it has that brand strength, and so that's kind of cool.
Now, do you think you convince them that you are the guy on the logo? That's me holding the paddleboard.
Maybe back in college, but not anymore. But it's fun to see it grow and to see people enjoy it. Now,
what do you think you'd be doing if you never would have started Johnnie-O?
That is a really damn good question, and I have no idea. Because I just couldn't stand the corporate just
just wasn't you.
No, and just doing stuff that I wasn't interested in. I mean, clearly selling and building a brand through marketing and creative and copywriting and visuals and trying to think outside the box, as they say. I mean, that's really what's ultimately driven me. It's, the clothes have just been kind of the vehicle. I've never known anything. I didn't know the difference between a PK and a jersey polo.
You're not a fashion guy.
You know what I mean?
Right?
No. But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about apparel. I've learned a lot about investment banking when we've done different fundraisers with, we've done 3 or 4 rounds of fundraising, and I've learned a lot of business in this whole endeavor because, I'm on our board and I listen in and I get involved and we're raising money on value and things like that. But I spent a lot of time, as I said, I was up at the photo shoot this afternoon. Like, I want to make sure these visuals represent what we're trying to,
you're still touching things,
a
right?
lot. Yeah. And I write a lot, and I stay intimately involved in.
Yeah, and I would imagine you've got to know a lot about people as well.
Oh yeah,
as you're 60 employees or whatever it is now.
Yeah, and it's funny because as you get more employees, more of this. Like, I remember when we had 3 employees, 6 employees, 8 employees, and we'd be in an office this big, and it was like everyone knew what everyone was doing, all stuff. Now we're up over 60, and I never knew anything about office politics, and not that we have much office politics, but all of a sudden now with what's going on in the workplace these days, it's like stuff starts to, stuff's hitting Dave's desk that never hit my desk, and I may not even find out about it. And it's not like it's bad, but it's like, it's stuff that bigger companies deal with. And I'm like, whoa, you mean you've got to talk to this person?
It's real life stuff.
Talking like that to another employee? Whoa, I've heard about that. So it's real life stuff, but that's why we got him in here.
That's why you have help.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what about just when you look at everything, what do you think the influence of sports has been for you and what you're doing now? How sports has impacted this drive that you have, this competition, this motivation that you have?
Well, sports definitely, it sets up a competitive nature. I think golf in particular, it's such a humbling game. I mean, it just, can I curse? It just bitch slaps you. You know what I mean? It just bitch slaps you. And
especially when you think you're getting better.
Right. And so it's sports not only being competitive, but staying the course, trying to keep your head down, and driving towards something. I think staying humble, in sports was always where I came from. Never was really, I don't think, showboating. And So I think that's kind of carried over into the development of Johnnie-O, where, you know, I don't need to be on the front cover of the Johnnie-O catalog, and I could certainly demand that, but I don't want sales to go down. So I think, you know, a certain humility and appreciation for being able to, you know, as they say, be in the arena of combat and competition, you know, is
yeah, is that competition that keeps you going? Is that
yeah, it does.
Helps you wake
and
up
it's not
every day?
like so much competition. Like I'm dying to, you know, kick that brand's ass. It's not so much that. It's more competition from within. Like I want to, you know, I feel like I have something to prove to myself that, that you know.
And isn't that golf?
Well,
it's that inner competition against yourself in golf,
exactly.
right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I never really equated it that way. But yeah, I want to prove to myself that I can compete with this guy or that guy or that guy, and that I can qualify for this event, and I can run through the tape and get it done, you know? So
and mentally that you can compete almost against yourself, that
right.
I can take this moment and hit a good shot.
Exactly. In that moment where you need to deliver. And so I'm driven by that, and I'm driven by trying to see this through and you know, make it a company that I can be proud of. Not just that, hey, I'm seeing so many people wear your stuff, but that we have given to a ton of charities. I mean, a ton of charities, and we've given to, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs and First Tees and grade schools and organizations, and probably more than my investors would like. I've always had a tough time saying no to charities. It's like this, you know. But, you know, that's great. And I had an employee once say to me, he goes, you know, thank you for, you know, I don't think you realize, but like, you know, you got 60 families here that are, you know, that are insurance and, you know, helping us put our kids through school and food on the table. And not that I'm personally doing it, but that we've created something that has allowed us to employ people for them to make a living and send the kids to school and put food on the table and, you know, provide some insurance and some, you know, everyone at our company has some options in Johnnie-O, so a piece of the action. Some bigger than others, of course, but I mean, that's kind of cool. You know, there aren't a lot of companies that do that, but I hope that means something to these guys. I think it does.
I would imagine it does, I mean? And that's what it's more than just a logo.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that now.
Yeah,
from that perspective.
It is, and so that's important to me.
Yeah. Now, what about any other words of wisdom that has meant a lot to you that you would like to share?
Well, I would say, you know, a couple would be, number one, definitely, you know, I think the time is now that, you know, I have a lot of people approaching me now about, oh, you know, it's my friend from Chicago and his daughter now is graduating from college and she wants to start a women's apparel line, or she wants to do this or she wants to do that. Can she get some advice from you? And I'm like, I can't believe I'm giving advice.
You're that guy.
But here goes. I tell people, you know, not that this is like earth-shattering advice, but, you know, give it a shot if you can. I think in today's world where we have, you know, you can buy a box of business cards for about $12. You know, you can build a website for probably a couple $1,000 or less. You know, you can trademark a logo and a name, and you can find ways to make or build or buy or garments to, you know, you can be in business pretty quick. You know, it's not like you got to go get some big fat office and have a huge employees and you don't have to have the brick and mortar store. And it's like, you know what, this internet thing has given people and social media an incredible opportunity that if you've got an idea that can cut through, it can find its way. You know, through social media, word of mouth marketing it's
real.
And it's free.
And it's $0. That's right.
You know what I mean? I mean, really, it is. It's like, so words of wisdom is I tell people, give it a shot, and that's important. I remember when my dad told me, as I told you before, he's like, if you can do something for yourself or on your own, I mean, that's a luxury. It's hard to do, but if you can do that, that can be a great deal. And then just keeping things in perspective. My dad always told me to keep things in perspective, and as this company grows, and I'm not going to kid you, I'm like, wow, we're doing this in sales, and now we're going to raise money, and we're talking about the company having this kind of value, and if I own this much of the company, whoa, and all of a sudden I find myself like, but nothing's materialized yet, but I'm just saying, yeah, and you find yourself once in a while like, yeah, I want to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like, you know what, just chill out, and I make a good wage, and I'm healthy, and I got a great kid, and we've got a cool brand, and we've got a great work environment, and I was at a photo shoot on a Wednesday afternoon swimming in the ocean.
And you got to get in the ocean, exactly. Just appreciate the here and now,
so,
right?
That's my point. Keeping it in perspective is really, really important. And I didn't win the $101.6 billion mega lotto today, so.
I didn't either, and I'm from South Carolina.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
So, yeah, keeping it in perspective, I think, is really important. And then gratitude. That's I think the gratitude for what you have is really, really key to me, I think.
Well, gratitude is big for me as well, and that's why, Johnnie-O, thank you so much for letting me steal some of your time. I know I took way too much of your time.
Not at all.
Thank you so much.
This is easy to talk about me. I mean,